All right. Hey, folks. So hopefully you've been enjoying this fasting series. This is the final part today. And I want to just go over some of the questions that have come up in the comments just to give you guys some direct feedback on things that might help you. But firstly, thanks for making it onto my channel. If you have any questions or comments, pop them down below. And if you'd like to work with me on your own strength and physique goals, there's a link in the description. So get in touch. Let's talk. Now, we'll go with the first question. And it was, well, this one was not so much of a question. This is just some hints and tips for you guys how to start. Okay, so the easiest thing to do is push back your first meal. Now, you might be sat there thinking, okay, Faz, all these great benefits, you've listed, rattled off: appetite control, hunger management, just self-mastery, lots of health benefits. But how do I actually get started? This all seems so foreign. Like, how do you just go without eating for 24 hours? Like, that sounds weird. If you've never done it before, it does sound weird. I mean, it sounds less weird in 2022 than when I first heard about it, like 20 years ago. It was really weird back then, but now I think it's fairly into the fitness industry. But like, how do you start? Where do you get the discipline from, all that kind of stuff? Well, like anything, it builds up over time. Like you lift training weights. You don't go to the gym the first day and bench 300 pounds. You start low and then you build up. The same way here. Just don't put any pressure on yourself. Just push back your first meal. That's all. Push back your first meal. You might normally have breakfast at 7 o'clock. Okay. Have breakfast at 10 or 9. Just push back your first meal a little bit. You'll start to increase that window where you fast, because you're still fasting. Everyone fasts overnight, right? Unless you're doing a George Costanza and you're eating in bed, everyone fasts overnight, right? For those of you who get that reference. So push back your first meal, okay? And just keep doing that until you're basically on a 12 till 8 schedule. So congratulations, you're doing intermittent fasting a la Lean Gains. Well done. So push back your first meal. What that will do is it will slowly build up your resolve and slowly help you get used to the feeling of fasting, because it's an unusual feeling. You have to get used to it. And when you're completely new to it, it's a very foreign feeling. It can be very unpleasant in a sort of a physical, but also mental way. Now, the next thing is you don't have to go all in, all right? Now, you might log onto Reddit and see some of the fasting regimens from some real fasting zealots. And I've shared some stories about people I've talked to online, on Reddit, who are really into fasting. And they're talking about how they're alternate day fasting, and they combine that with OMAD, so they're only eating 4 times a week. Trust me, I've seen people do that, and you think, whoa, seriously disordered stuff. But you don't have to do all that to begin with. Just target 1 or 2 days a week. You don't have to fast every single day if you don't want to. Like, yeah, sure, the Lean Gains approach is 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating, which totals 24 hours. Now, you don't have to do that. You can start off with just 1 day a week. And this is one of the reasons why I like Brad Pilon's approach, Eat, Stop, Eat. 1 day of fasting can get you lots of benefits, huge benefits. So to begin with, just target 1 or 2 days a week, all right? And I'd go so far as to say, even on the fasts, right at the beginning, don't feel like you have to do a full strict fast. I know someone's going to slam me in the comments on this and going to get the dislikes, but if you're just starting out and the concept of fasting freaks you out, rather than a fast, do a modified fast where you have little bits of protein and maybe some small amounts of vegetables through your fast, just to nibble on. There's nothing wrong with that. It'll start to reduce the caloric load during that period. It's not strictly fasting, but I won't tell if you won't. So it'll help you at least over time get used to things. And the last thing I'd say is, with the fasting schedule, just when you're getting used to fasting, I wouldn't bother restricting straight away. In the same way that if you were to start on a ketogenic diet or a vegan diet or whatever, I personally wouldn't recommend trying to restrict your calories straight away. Most people will attempt fasting for the purpose of losing weight or at least weight management. And same with keto or same with vegan or whatever. But I wouldn't bother restricting straight away. I would just get used to the schedule. So if you think to yourself, okay, Faz likes Eat, Stop, Eat, so I'm going to do 1 or 2 24-hour fasts a week. Cool, I'll do that. Just do that in the first instance. Do that for a few weeks and let your appetite come down, let you get used to the fasting, let you get used to the feeling of fasting. But don't bother restricting too much on the other days to begin with. Just do the fasting, let it work its magic. And when I mean magic, what I mean is over time, it will reduce your appetite. There's no inherent magic in fasting. It's just a way of reducing your calories. So some tips for how to first start. That's some just go easy on yourself is what I'm saying. It's a fairly extreme thing to do. So next, somebody asked about training fasting in the morning, and I said, just be hydrated. Okay, now I've answered this question many times over the years with regards to people training in the morning, whether fasted or not. And I always say, stay hydrated, watch out for your water and your electrolytes. And they always say, yep, Faz, I drink lots of water, don't worry about it. And they never mention the electrolytes. It's like I'm just talking to thin air. I actually mentioned this to someone the other day, and they were asking about training fasted in the morning. And I was like, yep, sure, just drink your water, make sure you salt your food. And they go, yep, Faz, I drink plenty of water. And they never said anything about the salt. People don't do that. People just sort of ignore that as just, I don't know, Faz is talking about nonsense. But hydration is an artifact of not only water, but also electrolytes too. And I think that's really important to emphasize because people just ignore it. And I say it every time, but people choose to ignore it. They go, yep, I'm drinking enough water. How much salt do you have? How much do you salt your foods? Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes. So they just sort of mentally blank it out. But I mean, this is maybe a topic for a separate video altogether, but hydration is a combination of both water and electrolytes. If you don't have the electrolytes in your system, you're not going to hold on to that water. So you need both. Okay, just want to emphasize that. So yeah, I mean, I recommend about 3 or so liters of water a day for the average male, about 2 or so for the average female, just because they're smaller, usually. Salt should be salting to taste. A nice simple way of doing that is salting to taste. And I think as long as, for most people, that's okay. If your doctor has told you shouldn't because of hypertension or whatever, then obviously, bear that in mind. But in general, your electrolytes are very, very important. That is sodium, potassium. But so if you are going to train in the morning, make sure you're salting your food to taste. Make sure you have enough of that the previous day and you have enough water and you should be okay. You shouldn't be waking up thirsty. If you're waking up thirsty, it's a hydration issue. And again, that doesn't mean just applying down more water. What it means is water and salt. I think it was Floyd Mayweather who said years ago, water dehydrates you. And everyone thought he was crazy. But what he was saying was if you're not having the electrolytes alongside the water, then it's just going to flush out more electrolytes from your system. So you need both. But anyway, I think I've labored that point enough. Next thing is how to break a fast. So first thing is what not to do, especially if this is a long fast. Don't have a massive meal, right? Unless you're like really comfortable in the bathroom in the toilet, don't have a big meal. Just start with something lighter. With my 5-day fast that I did 2021, I think it was January 2021. With my 5-day fast, I broke that with a light soup. It was just a very thin, spicy lamb soup with small bits of lamb in it. And that was fine. Very watery, lots of electrolytes, again. And I just let that sit for an hour and then I went to eat something. But yeah, I would say just a light soup is generally pretty good. Nothing too heavy though. I think for a 24-hour fast, you can just go into a regular meal. That's what I do. If I'm fasting. 16/8, that's just a regular meal. But anything longer than that, 48-hour fast, 3-day fast, 5-day fast, just start light. I think if you're just starting out with 24-hour fast, probably start them on the lighter side too. Just start with a salad or a soup, wait an hour. And that's mostly just so you're not just ravenous. You don't have this like, oh God, I've not ate for 24 hours. A lot of people get this weird thing about not eating for a while, like fasting. They almost feel a sense of I deserve to eat now, so I'm going to just smash it. And I think that's quite a dangerous attitude. One, it can upset your digestive system, but two, you can overconsume calories, it's not really the point. So go easy, give yourself an hour, and then maybe have a reasonable meal. Next thing, this is a question is, do you make up your calories or do you make up your protein or whatever? Okay, now a couple of separate answers there. One is for shorter fasts, okay? So for shorter fasts, like your 16/8, your 24-hour fast, I don't think you should make up calories. Most people are doing fasting for the purpose of dropping body fat, or at least maintaining body fat, and reducing caloric load. So if that's the reason, there's no point of making up calories because then you wouldn't be dieting because it's still all about calories. And I know this is when some fasting zealots are going to smash the dislike button. Please calm down. Please calm yourself. It is about calories. There's nothing magical about fasting. Autophagy is overblown. And this is another point. I think people need to really start researching for themselves. And I encourage you guys to do that. Go on to PubMed, go research some articles about autophagy And you'll realize it happens all the time. We don't just do it it doesn't just occur while you're fasted. It happens all the time, between meals, all that kind of stuff. This is not something that's just exclusively the domain of fasting, and it's quite overblown. Like if autophagy didn't occur in your body at all, it would be pretty dangerous. So it's happening all the time. It's probably happening to me right now. And for quite a lot of you watching this, it's happening right now, even if you're not fasting. So the benefits of autophagy are good. They're probably a little bit exaggerated, but we are in a state of autophagy most days. So please, when you hear a lot of these internet guys like just smashing on about autophagy, please do yourself a favor. Go and look online, go find some research what autophagy is for yourself. Because a lot of these clowns online, they're just overblowing these terms to make you all excited about it and think they've got the secrets. There's nothing secret about autophagy. It's a very normal thing that happens in the body. If it didn't happen, we'd all be in a lot of bloody trouble. It doesn't just happen when you fast. So do yourself a favor, do your own research on that. Autophagy is very much overblown. Like, yes, it's good, but it's overblown when regards to fasting. So you're not supposed to be making up the calories. Now, on longer fasts, when it comes to, let's say a 48-hour fast, I would recommend getting at least a lot of protein in if you're going to do that. Because if you're doing a longer fast, like a 48-hour fast, even a 24-hour to a certain extent, you've somewhat accepted that you're going to lose some muscle. You've somewhat accepted, more relevant on a 48-hour fast, you've somewhat accepted you're going to lose some muscle, or an alternate day fast. So I would really prioritize protein. I wouldn't do a 48-hour fast and then make it up with junk calories because you deserve to eat that. You're kind of missing the point there. So shorter fasts, bottom line, no need to make up your calories. You're in a deficit for a reason. Longer fasts, I would really pound the protein. And autophagy is overblown. And if anyone wants to argue that, please do send some links in the comments, actual research article links, not Healthline or like the latest idiot guru online, like, please. Okay, so sleep. Someone mentioned they find it quite difficult to sleep at night when fasting. It's a good point. Yeah, I think in general, fasting will highlight poor sleep issues. So like if you sleep reasonably well, or if you just like have a poor sleep hygiene routine, but you sleep decently well in spite of that, fasting will really highlight that problem. So the usual sleep hygiene rules apply. Like make sure, a shower before bed is probably a good idea. Make sure you switch off all lights about an hour before you go to sleep. Read, meditate, write in a gratitude log, do something peaceful for the last half an hour to hour or so. Magnesium, melatonin helps. If you're not doing all of those things, more than likely on a regular day, you are just letting the tiredness and food take you to sleep. So you're probably sleeping in spite of your actual sleep routine. For fasting, it becomes more important to actually have a sleep routine. So, I mean, I'm variable on it. I sleep better these days, but in general, like I will switch everything off about half an hour before bed. I like Audible, so I just listen to a book before bed, and that works for me. Various things, fiction, non-fiction. But I always take magnesium and melatonin before bed too. And yeah, I take a bit of zinc before bed too, but that's not really for sleep. It's just part of the stack. But with sleep, fasting will expose your poor sleeping habits. So be on track with that. Now, someone mentioned low blood sugar. Well, yeah, it's surprising the amount of people who will freak out over low blood sugar, will have this as a concern even before they've fasted. What we see in the research is this doesn't really happen in the vast majority of people who are normal and sort of metabolically normal. It's interesting that you hear so many people talk about low blood sugar when in reality it doesn't happen in a lab condition with like a continuous glucose monitor or something like that. It just doesn't happen. In my experience, more often than not, it's the anxiety over not eating. It's almost an anxiety over the thought of not eating, like a fear of not eating, fear they're doing something wrong, fear they're going to harm themselves in somehow, and also maybe just a low key like bad relationship with food, just an undiscovered bad relationship with food. This is why fasting is not for everyone. Like if the concept of fasting is really freaking you out, like low blood sugar, it's probably not for you. You've probably got some sort of low key eating disorder, or at least disordered eating pattern. I would just caution with that. I'll tell you a story. There was a guy a few years back who knew I fasted and wanted to try some fasting, and he's like, "Oh, Faz, I'm really nervous." I'm like, "Well, you don't have to do it. maybe just don't do it." He's like, "No, I want to try it because you you like it and you said it's good. It's like, okay, fine. So he was really, really nervous about it. And I just kept saying to him, look, you don't have to do it. You sound like it's a thing for you. And so by the time it was 11 a.m. the next day rolled around, he text messaged me. And he's like, Faz, I just binged. I'm like, I mean, 11 o'clock, it's not even really enough time to get hungry. You know, it's like he skipped a meal. But mentally, he just freaked himself out. So, and actually years later, he found out he did have some disordered eating patterns, but it's probably related. So mentally, he just went nuts. So I think a lot of it is just anxiety. It's not actual low blood sugar. There's just anxiety, heart starts to flurry, go, oh, not eating, do something wrong. If that's the case, don't bother with fasting. In fact, there's nothing special about fasting. It's literally just a way of compacting your calorie window and helping you drop calories. It does help with appetite control for a lot of people. But if you're getting freaked out over it mentally, then, you know, it's probably not for you. And you maybe have some other issues that you need to work on further down the line. All right, so we will call it there. Hopefully you guys found that useful. And yeah, it's a difficult subject. You know why? Because there's so much misinformation out there about fasting. There's a lot of misinformation out there about fasting. I mean, I could probably do an entire episode on fasting myths, which might be a topic for another day, because I think I've overdone that this week. But hopefully you found that interesting. Hopefully I've allowed you to navigate through the reality of what fasting is based on somebody with a lot of experience on it. But maybe a fasting myths is a good idea at some point, because there's a lot of BS out there about the magic of fasting and autophagy and God knows what else. But anyway, I'm going to call it there. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll speak to you soon, guys. Take care.